Morning, everybody. My name is Alistair. I'm going to try and tell you what big companies are doing to be lean and efficient, and how government can use that in under 5 minutes. First of all, the basic idea behind Lean Startup is that Kevin Costner is a lousy entrepreneur. By this we mean, if you build it, they will come is horsepucky. If they come, you should build it. In government, that means don't launch what you can build what will actually get used. The problem with this, of course, is that you don't know what's going to get used, but in today's technology world, the cost of running an experiment is trivially low, and the cost of getting people's attention is usually the hardest thing. The lean cycle of constantly building stuff, measuring what happened, learning from it, building something new is at the core of the lean startup model. The problem is that we're not very good at measuring stuff and learning from it. And so I've spent the last few months talking to a large number of big companies about how they innovate, and I'm hoping that I can bring some of that knowledge to you guys and sort of put it in context for you to take it back to your cities and your states and your governments. Because if Steve Blank says that a startup is an organization designed to search for a sustainable, repeatable business model, then it follows that a government or a large company is an organization designed to perpetuate that business model. So here's 8 things that I've kind of stumbled across that organizations do to innovate well with a particular focus on being data-driven. The first thing they do is they get uncomfortably close to their end users. We heard several presenters this morning talk about hanging out in the lobby of a government services building. There's no substitute for actually getting close to the end user. There is a multi-billion dollar, 9.8 billion euro tissue paper company who gets closer to its customers, and the guy who's head of innovation for their tissue products told me the best survey form is the search bar, because people type in there what they're looking for, and if you're not looking at the searches where they didn't find anything and learning from that, you may be missing hugely valuable information. In their case, they found a discrepancy between the gender of people searching for incontinence products and studies on who uses incontinence products that exposed a huge market for them. So in your case, you may have search bars where people are entering things. That's probably your most valuable source of information for what people are actually looking about that you're not delivering to them. You should mix qualitative and quantitative information. It's great to be data-driven, but some people get data-obsessed. There was a great example you've probably heard of in Boston where a little app was showing us where potholes were in the road. The problem with this was it showed us where we should fix potholes belonging to really rich people who had smartphones with unlimited data, because those are the only people who left this app running in their commute to work. Closer to home, in Oakland, I talked to Nicole Nedich. She told me that in Oakland Hills, there's a huge outbreak of crime, whereas the flats are just fine. Because if you see a mattress out in the hills, 15 people call the cops, but mattresses all over the streets in the flats is normal. You have to make this stuff part of the policy. One of the companies we talked to, MetLife, for every $100 they cut, they're allowed to put $66 into new innovation. This means that people aren't running around going, oh no, there's cuts coming. They're thinking, how do I get more money to build new things? And this has allowed them to do all sorts of things like this called Infinity. This is a product that allows the insurance company to manage your future. You use small amounts of data to make people crave more data. At EMI, David Boyle wanted to get access to billions of record purchase transactions. Nobody would let him touch them. So he ran a survey for about 1 million people, and the results of that survey were so compelling, he got permission to go and unlock the treasure trove of anecdotal data. You should build experiments into everything you're doing. Everything is an experiment. You may be able to find other ways to collect data. This is probably not a very important survey, but I know coffee shops that actually ask their customers policy questions based on voting in the tip jars. And Walmart does this. They have this project called Get on the Shelf, where people can vote for toys or products they like to see on the shelf. They're using this stuff to let their customers, or in your case, citizens, actually help them innovate. You have to realize that everything is a study first. One of the big objections a lot of innovators get is, I won't greenlight this project until you're 100% sure it'll work, which never happens in a startup. So instead, say, I'm doing a report. When DHL thought maybe they should get into the 3D printing business instead of doing logistics, they said, rather than starting writing a study, we're going to start a 3D printing company. It failed miserably, which was great news for them because now they had hard evidence for a report. You should fear the local maximum. Most of us, if you guys understand the concept of a local maximum, most of us are constantly trying to optimize towards the world we live in based on today's metrics. The problem, of course, is that a new way of doing things is dramatically different. And so going downhill, going from the way you do it today to the new way, is a real problem. And so I want to conclude with this, that we need to learn how to treat innovation as a portfolio. Everybody I've talked to abides by this 3 horizons model. The first horizon is things you know how to do but aren't doing today, and you need a plan for what that's going to be. You should assume it will work, but the market may change it. So for example, paying your parking tickets online. It's pretty easy to do. We know how to do it. The reality is you're going to look at metrics like, did it work? Did it pay back? And you may have these unintended consequences, like people start using places where they get parking tickets as very expensive paid parking. Horizon 2 is when you're doing something new. Here you have some kind of business model you think will work, and you go into it assuming it'll fail. So you set expectations accordingly. If it works, your ultimate use case will be something that you think it is today, but it probably will have unintended consequences like some kind of open data API. And here you're looking at a very different set of metrics. And finally, Horizon 3, which is sort of moonshots and hoverboards. Here you have some kind of an idea. You assume it's possible. It may change the world, something like digital democracy. And you have a very different set of criteria. How many people have you talked to? How fast can you create a prototype? How quickly are you uncovering assumptions and seeing whether they're real or not? And how many constraints about that have you learned? So you really need to think about innovation in those 3 sort of portfolios and be deliberate about planning things that way. So thank you very much. Looking forward to the discussion.